So let me demonstrate what this is so you guys know what you're looking at. So you guys can obviously see me in that camera, right? So I should be orange, red, or yellow. Everything around me is blue and black. I have this set up to black, cold, white, hot. So anything black or blue is really what we're looking for. What I look for on these is if blue starts to move. So if something comes across my orange face and it's blue, obviously we have something going on there. I don't get excited with one device going off. So another great reason about my methods and having a group of 10 is I throw everything I have at the stories that I'm about to tell. So that way, if something's going off and your TV shows, which are mostly bogus, they're using one device. The EMF meter went off. Okay, big deal. Now what? So we're about trying to find everything. Not to mention this is going to record audio. So I like to give this to a skeptic, but I do want to give it to somebody who maybe has a little bit more experience with it. So with that being said, I think everything is set up already. It's already recording. And the record button on this guy is the red square. If that turns into a circle, just let me know. We'll have to splice some video together. I've turned into an AV tech with this job too, as you can imagine. I don't just play with words. Your fingers are covering the screen. There you go. It's on the bottom left for you. There you go. Nope, he's good. Okay. So you want to keep it horizontal all night. Try not to put it in your pocket or go the opposite way. What happens with this video is I upload it to YouTube and then I send it over to my website, so all of your data is in one spot. So let's see here. Let's go to the other spirit box first. So this spirit box records, like I said before. So is everybody familiar with what a spirit box is? Okay, so it sweeps through radio stations. They use theirs for white noise. I have this one slowed down a little bit on purpose. No offense, but most of you haven't done this before, so I want you guys to be able to listen for those radio chatter, is what I like to call it. So your radio DJs, your song lyrics, your commercials, that kind of thing. So I'm going to teach you more about how to ask questions to this guy, and we're going to stay away from some of those TV show, and no offense, but some of the groups that are out there posting videos that are just asking yes or no questions. So we're going to go more into detail with that, but I'm going to get this guy set up to record. The cool thing about this recording is that it only records the radio sweep. It doesn't record any outside noise. Even when it's on mute, it is still recording. So the cool thing is when I'm telling a story, you turn it down, and it's still recording for us. And then I say, okay, spirit box is up, and I kind of set you guys free for a few minutes. So I'm going to turn it up just so everybody gets a gist of what it sounds like. So it's literally just going through all the different stations. So again, it's not going to record me or any of you. You have one button to worry about. It is a volume button. It is a turnstile right here. You control the volume, literally inch by inch.
And I've gotten a lot off of that through my other group. It's pretty intense.
I love that thing.
Yeah.
So when I do my investigations, I don't go out at night and I'm lurking in museums and whatever. I go to them just like you guys. I pay my entry fee at the door. That's on mute in my pocket. That's in a cargo pocket sticking out. I got my other devices on me running. That's how I get my evidence. And that way I can take my pictures and read the panels and learn more about whatever that museum's offering. EMF meters. You've seen these? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they don't tell you how these things work on television. I know Ken's probably explained it to you. Hey, did I get the name right?
Yeah.
Look at me go. Yeah. So, muscle memory, right? Keep repeating it. So they measure 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. We're going to be outside through this whole thing. Okay, so we're going to have parking meters and electrical wires and buildings and all kinds of stuff. So those are going to make that thing go into a pulse. So it's going to look like a rhythm. We're going to be able to tap our foot to it. We don't want to do that. Okay, so we really want this thing to go erratic. We want it to go crazy. There'll be certain places, and guys, my gimmick is honesty. I'm not going to make stuff up for you. I'm not Zach Bagans. I'm not any of those guys. So again, if we're about to walk on a street that has a lot of parking meters, and you're like, oh, it's going off. I'm like, it's a parking meter. So fair enough. You're the first person to let us know what's going on.
Okay.
All right.
That was familiar.
Well, this is your K2.
Yeah.
What you call it.
I'll go to next. You've been pretty quiet. So, have you used laser grids before?
Yes. And that's the pen that puts the green dots on the wall.
This first one, Nate, I'm so sorry. John. So John's going to have this guy. This guy gives us red squares.
Oh, cool.
Reason why is in the event I'm quick enough with my phone and I get a picture, I can then put this into my 3D software and we can have a full view of the 3D apparition that we caught. So have I caught anything with this guy yet? I've caught weird stuff with this, stuff that was unexplainable, but do I have anything that's definitive, like, hey, that's a hand? No, it's gonna be super quick, just so you know. So lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble, just so you know.
Yeah.
Reason why I said you're quiet, because you're going to have 2 lasers. So you're going to have this one, which is a toggle switch up and down, which is easy to turn on and off.
Sure.
So you want to make sure it's pointed at the ground and no more than 5 feet in front of you.
Okay.
So the bigger the grid, the worse it gets. You want to kind of keep things close to you.
Right.
So just be careful of cars, buildings, all that good stuff. And the second one is pretty common on your TV shows. It is just a simple grid pen. So I normally joke that this is the Neuralizer from Men in Black, and you guys all need to stare at the tip. And I almost bought the Neuralizer when I was at Universal. My wife's like, "You're not spending $40 on a toy for your tour." I'm like, "You don't want to know what I spend on the toys I need for the tour."
Right.
So this guy gives us green dots. So again, we won't be able to see anything unless something passes through it. Again, I've caught plenty of things with this. It's going to be real small. It's not going to be a full-size hand. Same thing with the red grids. This guy, you have to hold the button on. So it's nice and easy to handle. And you don't want to cross the streams. I know a bad Ghostbuster joke, but it works here. So, but with that being said, you want to kind of put them side by side and then go out by 5 feet. So there'll be certain areas where I say no lasers whatsoever, because obviously buildings and cops running around and things like that. Nick can go away in handcuffs with lasers, just so you know. That's how important it is. So I'm not going to pull out the SB7 Spirit Box, just because you guys have that one and you guys are going to make a good team. I'm kind of changing the dynamic of how I normally do this. So I'm going to use a few things on my phone. Hopefully that's still recording. Oh, don't tell me you're connecting.
Cool.
Okay, we're good. I want to make sure, because like I said, the voice recorder is new. So the first thing I'm going to use is a Spirit Box that'll give us a word in the center of the screen from time to time. Now these are meant to be games and hoaxes, okay? So 80% of the words that it's going to give us, it's absolute BS, okay? Pardon the French, but I'm not your typical tour guide. The cool thing is it's going to save the entire list for us. Now this is from my last tour, which was back in December. They had 72 entries, which is about a little over what I normally get between a 90-minute tour. So you guys will get the full list. Now, the words that I find in there, the 5 to 20% that actually mean something based on a tour or the stories I'm going to tell you, I will highlight and give you a verifiable link of where I got my information. Okay? Now, the reason why I give you the whole list is so people text me weeks, months later down the road and said, "My cat's name is Radar," and it said Cat Radar on there. I'm like, well, I don't know your cat's name, so I couldn't put it in the tour. So there's your evidence. Download it. It's yours. So that's what it is. But again, 80% of this, it's BS. It doesn't mean a damn thing. The other thing that I'm going to use is called a reverse Spirit Box. Now, I debunked this one as well because, again, it's a phone app. They said that it was live radio sweeps being flipped backwards. Well, communications major can't do that. It's impossible. It's live. Okay? Not to mention it's an FM signal. Is that a cop coming up on me?
Going past you.
Like, he probably saw me without a mask, close to you guys. But this guy, I have enough software to analyze EVP, so I put it in the software and I flipped it forwards. I wanted to know what it said. It's literally just a man and a woman saying random words. I looped it for over an hour, did not hear the same word twice. So, take that for what it is. I'm going to turn it up so you guys get the gist of it, because the only way you're going to be able to hear it is on the regular audio. So it should sound like complete gibberish. No, you're good. Just want you to kind of get the gist of what this guy sounds like. So when I hear something, so when I hear something on in live, because we will break apart a little bit just so we're not intercepting each other, I will kind of give you another reiteration of how I use this, and I'll repeat what I hear. So one of the things that I caught with this one, and Ken, you might find this very interesting, I was talking about a woman from England, and this is what I caught. And I'll explain why it's so important once the traffic passes, because it's hard to hear without. Remember, you're going to hear my voice afterwards. I'll play it several times. Everybody catch that? Okay, so here's what happened. Your Spirit Box told me, "I'll fix you baked beans breakfast," and then that word list gave me the word tea. "I'll fix you baked beans breakfast and tea." All that showed up together within about 3 to 4 minutes of each other. Full sentence, 3 different devices. I was talking about a woman from England. Baked beans breakfast is a thing over in the UK. I had no idea at the time. That's why you kind of heard my voice go, "Baked beans breakfast." Okay, what the hell is that? But one of my guests told me, like, "Yeah, that's a thing in the UK. Eliza was from the UK." So I was like, all right, awesome. That makes complete sense. So that's probably one of the best EVPs I've ever caught. Later, I'll show you a video of what I caught. It's a quick 7-minute or 7-second video with thermal imaging camera. But yeah, those are the tools I'm going to use on me. And again, we will break apart a little bit We're not within sight of each other. But this is an investigation. It's not just stories like you guys said. So, you guys ready to hear some ghost stories? That's why we're all here, right? So, and as far as temperature goes, I do have extra thermometers and different types of thermometers to either prove or debunk what you got going on in your camera in case we do catch something.
Okay.
So again, my Santa bag of tricks doesn't end; it just keeps going. So the place that you guys were leaned upon is called Big John's. Well, at least it used to be back in the 1970s. Closed down back in 2015. And Big John was a football player. I told you I didn't like sports, but this is the only bit of sports I know. I promise. So Big John played for the New York Giants in 1947 through 1952, I believe. But this was his place. He named it after himself, and he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would nod off to the bartender if the cadets that coming over from the Citadel, if they were of age or not. One night, 2 guys came over. They're not of age. Big John says, "Get them out of here." They leave. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John sees what's going on. They get into a little rough and tumble on the ground, start beating each other up. A couple of shots were fired. One of them hits John in the neck and ricochets and goes into the wall. Big John gets up, goes back to the bar, looks at the bartender, he says, "Get me another beer and get him an ambulance." I almost reversed that. Get me an ambulance. No, that's not what happened. Told to get the bartender to get the guy beat up an ambulance. Now, nobody died in that story. So what haunts the place? The bullet hole. Allegedly, it's still here. Now, they are doing construction on this building, so I don't know what they're doing inside. People that sit in the front of this bar start to not feel well. A little dizzy, nauseous, headaches, those kind of things. Just real light, nothing drastic. I bring this up on purpose because I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect any of you. Maybe Ken, because he's been doing this. Any of you are not feeling well, I need to know. Wouldn't be the first time if somebody passed out on this tour. Okay? So, just kind of be mindful. I've had people say, "I can't do it, it's too much." It is what it is. I get it. So, I'm just kind of giving you a fair warning now. It's not to scare you, it's an actual health hazard. The other piece of history, let's get off of our own health, right? The mantle above your heads actually broke off in the front of the building during our big earthquake of 1886. Now, that earthquake, this is allegedly where the first death occurred. Don't have any verifiable proof, but the previous owner of this bar, his name was Paul. This used to be called Kane Rum Bar. He used to see dark shadows out here on East Bay Street after closing. And that was after he would talk to Big John and let him rattle the bottles around for him, answering his questions. So take that for what it's worth. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, that's it. Go home. No, I'm kidding. So let's go this way. And I'm sad because these parking spaces are open, and I now park in a garage because parking meters aren't free anymore. So the good thing is I park near the end of where we end up.
Should I stop recording this until we get there?
Nope, keep it going.
Okay.
Keep the whole thing going. So, I know, I take you to all the beautiful spots of Charleston. Just wait to the next one. It's even prettier than this. So, again, ghost hunting's never pretty. So this is the big red barn lot. This is where we keep your horses for your carriage rides. So the horses are still in there. So, John? Yeah. Yes! John, no lasers inside those windows for me, please. Okay. He will spook the ponies and scare the shit out of all of them, and they will start kicking the walls, and then we'll really be scared, because it's loud. So, what's the significance of this place? This is the same red barn where they kept the horses that delivered milk to Charleston. That kind of dates it for you. That's all the history I have. This is more or less your practice area to get used to your devices. So I gave you a tidbit of information. So let's look at your EMF. Holy cow.
Wow.
That's awesome. So that's what I mean by erratic. There's no pattern to that whatsoever. Like, I don't give it long to try to give me a pattern. So remember, I got the words illustrate and indicate. So let's talk about your spirit box for a second. Yeah, you can turn it low. Just be mindful of that button at the top, because if you hit that button, we got to start your recording over. So spirit boxes, you're going to be asking questions to this thing. So you and John are going to be working as a team, obviously. But you're going to be asking questions that are non-yes or no, because is somebody here? No. First off, that means somebody's here. They answered you. But second, S and O in the phonetic English language are two of the most common sounds. So we want to kind of get away from that. So we all know that the barn is red, right? Nobody here is colorblind. I didn't offend anybody. Good. So the barn is red. So we could be asking questions very simple, like what color is the barn? Okay. When you hear the color red, hopefully, then you can move on to another question, something else that's a non-yes or no question. And here, because I told you that the horses delivered milk, now we open it up. So what's inside the barn? We can have horse, we can have animal, we can have delivery, we can have calcium. I've had that come up before, that's weird. But again, anything that relates to an animal, farm, especially a horse, you just opened it up. Now with colors, it's very definitive. That's a one-word answer, you're listening for that color. Now the next location we go to won't be so easy. I'm gonna give you some sample questions that you're not gonna know the answers to. It might be things about the house or somebody's age or how they died or whatever the case might be. But here, I want you guys to get used to asking questions. It's about every 30 seconds you want to ask the question again, the same question. What color's the barn? Wait 30 seconds. You don't get an answer? Can you tell me what color the barn is? Maybe just reword it a little bit. Maybe after 3 or 4 tries, if you're not getting the color red, that's when you move on to another question. That's what's so important about investigations like this. Go ahead.
You got a blue silhouette behind you right now.
Blue shield?
And there's a
Silhouette.
reflection. A silhouette behind you. And it's not a reflection off a
Well, my
shadow.
shadow's over there. So
It's a garbage can.
light
No.
hitting here, like this, it should be right around here. See the shadow?
Right, yeah, I see that, but it was literally like standing like behind you, and it was a little bit shorter than you, but it kind of came back from your body,
Okay.
stood there, and then went to the right.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And that's why we record the entire time, because we
Right.
never know when it's going to show up. We'll take it. So I'll definitely, I mean, we're obviously talking about it, so I'll be able to watch the video to double check it and maybe clip it out so you guys can all have it separately. Oh, look at that. I got the word frankly. Interesting. Again, could be part of the 80% BS. We'll see what happens.
And look at your,
So with your lasers, again, straight down, 5 feet out in front of you. Those are meant to be set up in a room with a video camera.
Okay.
So the slower you move, the better.
Okay.
And really, we should be watching kind of where the EMF is going crazy, because that's probably where you're going to get a little bit more question and answer. And again, it could be the radio DJ, so don't pay attention to gender, don't pay attention to the tone of it. So if they said, it was all red, you still got the color red. It is slowed down. It's going to pick up longer phrases. Try to keep that horizontal. There you go.
Horizontal. Gotcha.
Only because, again, YouTube doesn't like the flippies.
Yeah.
So we'll take it for that. I'm going to be doing my own thing with this guy and kind of give you guys a good 5 to 8 minutes in here just to kind of get used to what your devices do. And we'll take it from there. And I'm going to follow up with you, but I am going to turn my spirit box up so I can listen in. I try to contact any teammates from Big John. I get them all the time. And just so you know, I had to learn about Tom Landry. I did not know who that was. So his number showed up one night, and the name Tom came in 2 different devices. Lo and behold, Tom Landry played with Big John, 1948. So I had no idea who he was. And we had like the word Dallas come up. I want to say Coach came up. Like all kinds of things related around Tom. So it was a full connection with Tom Landry. Like I'm going to take, when there's that many clues, it can't be 80% BS.
Yeah.
It has to be directed at something. Oh, look at that. I got the word twin. Anybody hear a twin? Okay. All right. Go ahead and turn up your spirit box. If you get really close up there by the windows, just kind of keep it mindful to just the 2 of you. Otherwise, the horses, they don't like that staticky noise. So you'll spook them that way as well. But definitely have it loud enough to where you can hear it. So a lot of people turn it way down and like, I'm not hearing anything. We'll turn it up. So, all right. Questions, comments? Let's have some fun. Hopefully we make some contact. Let's get a little bit going on more with, I mean, you already have a good gist of how to use that guy. So with that being said, I'm going to show you a quick video of something I caught. Let me mask up because I'm close to you. So this was, I try to say keep a person in view at all times, because with that, you always have a base. So our skin's going to be warmer than anything else out here, especially in this kind of weather. So with that being said, yes, I had to post it on Facebook. It's probably my most significant evidence on that camera. Videos. You think I'd have it quick, right? Videos. See, where is it? I make a lot of marketing videos, sorry.
No, with what I saw earlier, it looked like something literally morphed off you, like morphed
Interesting.
back,
Yeah.
and it was like probably that height and just shot to the left.
Well, hopefully, obviously we recorded it.
It's really interesting to see with my wife here, because she is a skeptic,
Yeah.
but I want her to see what this is all about.
So, people in view, there's 2 live heads above, right? That's a wall, this big orange thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to rewind so you can see the 2 living people. So they're going to be going left to right. They're a little bit lighter than the wall. We're going to fast forward a little bit. You're going to have 2 dead people going the opposite way. This guy here is always in view. Did you see him?
I did. Yeah.
So I sent this over to firemen, mechanics. I had one fireman send it up to his chief. They can't explain it. They're like,
Wow.
you actually have live evidence. Because, I mean, they use this tool all the time. You know, it's part of their job.
Right.
So, of course, I really, like, hit him hard. Like, dude, you got to tell me what's going on here.
Right.
And he's just like, got 2 ghosts walking by. There's 2 heads there, specific. If you go frame by frame, there are 2 heads side by side. Look at that, I got a pill. I just took my medication before I came down. Sorry, I'm always going to try to tie something below knot.
There's the words from tonight.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah, this,
Okay.
I mean, I always clear out the previous tour because they already have theirs, and then I keep this list going, and then I save it at the end, and then I email it to myself so I can copy paste it in the morning to all your evidence. So, but you know, nice slow movements with that. With FLIR, it's not the camera technology that's up to date, it's the thermal camera technology that's up to date. So if you move it too quick, it will pixelate. So when we're between our next stop and the stop after that, there's like, we're gonna be walking for like 3 blocks to get to the next haunted location. So keep up. You don't need to like keep it slow, but just keep it horizontal.
Yeah.
And there'll be certain places, and the next lot that we go to does have some cars in it, and people do get a little weird about us videotaping. So they don't know that's thermal and we're not, you know, stealing cars or anything. So
Right.
just, if somebody comes by trying to get in their car, just act like you're not a video camera guy.
Gotcha.
Just kind of keep it low so we can, you're just holding a cell phone with a blue light at the back. Which
Gotcha.
this device, like, my wife works for Best Buy. So the cell phone I already had. When I bought the FLIR, it came with an extra battery pack. So I just glued it to the back because the camera is only meant to last for about an hour. So I needed something that was obviously going to last 3 hours. So I just charge up that battery pack in the phone every night, and it's good to go.
Now the FLIR that we had was like $1,000.
Right. Yeah,
And,
I've had people.
Wasn't anything cheaper out there at all.
That
So,
guy,
How much did this cost?
that was $200,
Really? Wow.
and it came with the free battery charger. I just had to find a little extra cord to keep it attached. And you know, I'm actually I got a another adapter coming so I can have a tablet.
Right.
So I can attach that to a tablet. It needs a certain adapter for it to be able to work. So that'll be here on Wednesday. And I do have an extra tablet lying around, so we're going to try it out and see if it'll work. I've been through 5 different tablets trying to see if it's compatible, and it hasn't been. So it's very specific and very touchy.
All right.
So
Let's do it.
I can't hear any spirit box. You guys hear anything?
You're doing all right?
Yeah, but that's loud enough. Just lighten up back and forth. You can turn it a little bit louder than that.
I saw it was lighting up over there, and it's most likely the light, the electricity. Oh, that's cool work. That's why I need to get away
Somebody's
from
actually
that.
hanging out with us. Tell us what color that barn is.
Okay.
Use the device, the box with the red lights on it that I'm pointing to. Yeah, there's a little bit of a warm spot right here. So I've also caught thermodynamics in reverse with that camera. So what does that mean? So thermodynamics states that temperature can't be destroyed or generated. It has to balance. So I've literally caught on a chilly night like this, a small area heating up by 10 to 12 degrees very quickly, which means there's a cold spot generating somewhere else. Now when we caught it, I told the camera person, I'm like, please don't move the camera. That's enough proof that something is pulling the cold air to generate. So it can still work in reverse either way. And I've caught that several times, which is really cool. So it's really neat to see when you see something growing in heat. You know, and the crosshairs on the screen, because it has a little crosshairs on there to give you the temperature. And you can see it rise in temperature very quickly on a cold night like this. It's weird. Jumps on your just got the word dirt. So normally, I usually have everybody set up in pairs, especially when I do it with 10. So with the lasers, the other person normally has a camera, and all they're doing is taking pictures through the lasers, because I don't want the lasers on the ground. Who cares about that? I want to see what's coming through. So that's where I'm able to capture my pictures that way. Alright, so everybody pretty much has a good gist on what your tools do, right? You guys want to go learn some real history instead of just horses in a barn? Alright, come on, Ken. I think
Yeah. But no picture that we got, they were like this. In front of the swings. And I was just like tears in my eyes. I was like, "Oh, look at this picture."
that's really cool. Yeah, let's get you out of the only entrance to this place.
Yeah.
So yes,
But
another
we don't
crazy
need another
spot.
spear.
I know, I don't make ghosts, we search for them. So, this is home to the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion site. So, there's a lot of significant things around here, and as far as what actually goes on here. But first off, this is where I heard Baked Beans Breakfast, and this is also where I caught the video that I showed you. It was up in that corner. There are a lot
Over
of
here?
cars here. Yeah.
Okay.
So the cars, we're going to be mindful with the lasers, because those can set off car alarms. That's never fun to run. I've done that once or twice, maybe. And of course, Ken, you and I talked about the camera already with people in their vehicles. They get a little, that were terrific. So who the heck were Eliza and Charles Pinckney? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. The nephew and the son, signers of our Constitution. Obviously, the son was raised here. So there's a lot more that goes into that. We're going through Inauguration Week. I don't want to talk about politics. So I actually canceled tours for Wednesday because I've been down here during riots. It's not a good time. I've toured through riots before. It's crazy. So people get a little nuts. But anyway, so let's talk about Eliza. She's way more fun, and not many people talk about her. I don't think there's any other tour in town that talks about her. Look at you going up. Has it been doing that the whole time?
No.
Okay. Usually when I start mentioning Eliza's name is when that thing starts going crazy. So Eliza Pinckney got married at a young age. Hopefully your spirit box will tell us how young she was. To Charles, because her father thought he was dying over in England. He wanted all of his kids home. She didn't want to go. So she got married. Now they didn't grant citizenship during colonial times, but it did keep her here. So kind of keep that in mind. So they built a house, one of the most beautiful in Charleston. It was very different from all of the others. They were like the envy of Charleston. So with that being said, Dad got better, and then he started sending gifts over from England. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye, and we use it to make our blue jeans blue today. So some of you are wearing it tonight. So it started right here. It's a huge cash crop because our rice plantations were starting to go downhill. We needed another cash crop to be able to save Charleston and the colonies. Indigo happened to be that. Dad's over in England. She used Dad's contacts overseas to be able to sell this indigo as a huge cash crop. They moved, obviously, the crop into Mount Pleasant at Steve Farm, which is one of their other homes. They have many here in Charleston, but this was the main one. So, a lot of weird things about Eliza. A couple things you guys should know. Obviously, you know about indigo and planting, and the garden was here. But Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. They both went by their maiden name, Eliza blank Pinckney. So try to find out on your spirit box what the maiden name was, not the middle, maiden. They both start with the letter L. That's all I'm going to tell you. Eliza, you can ask anything you want to about her death. So you can ask how old she was, where is she buried, where did she die, and which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Pretty big deal. It shows you how important she was. And keep in mind, I'm just touching the very top of what Eliza's done for our country, just so you have enough to work with on your spirit box. Let's see, you can ask about the daughter. I don't recommend asking anything about the sons because that's kind of a, I don't want to say it's a curse on our paranormal activity here, but if you start asking about the other suns, there was a tragedy and all activity will stop. So let's stay away from the suns, and that's not a temptation. It's a literal, do not ask about the suns. If she brings it up on her own, she brings it up on her own. Okay, so we'll kind of leave it at that. As far as the thermal imaging, nice slow sweeps throughout the lot. Obviously the thermal imaging or the EMF is going crazy already, so you guys want to kind of pay attention where her hotspots are. Laser grids, obviously keep them straight down. Now this lot is a little rocky, so be careful of the pebbles flashing back at you and giving you a false positive. I'm going to be doing my own thing with mine for sure this time. I didn't do anything on the last lot, but I want to get you guys some extra audio with that reverse spirit box. So again, just be mindful of the people coming into their cars. A lot of people do ask about like what we're doing and things like that. It's okay, we're ghost hunting. But again, with the cars, they get real weird. I've had people coming out screaming with the video. Let's have some fun in here. Get in touch with Eliza. When you're asking questions, ask her directly. Hey Eliza, tell me this. Keep in mind, this is colonial times, so she does not know what a spirit box is. So you could say red lights like I did earlier, you know, that kind of thing. So I've had some interesting things come out of this lot. It's probably my grand finale if I were to have one. So I need to see where you're going so I can go in the opposite direction. And I think that's the only, because we only have one other spirit box out.
Is there ever any physical touching or anything that you encounter?
I've only had one person claim that they've been touched in the 1.5 years I've been doing this. And that wasn't in this lot.
Okay.
So I don't even go to that location anymore. It's not that it's a bad location, it's just that there's new neighbors in town that don't like us cutting through. They feel like we're a nuisance, so I'm just going to abide by the neighbors and be respectful. But yeah, only one time has somebody said, I felt like my purse got pushed. Okay, that's great, that's your claim. I can't prove it. So I'm after proof.
Anything like this, like these wires?
So
maybe?
those wires, you can test it.
Yeah, it didn't seem to have ring.
So let's put it right on top. They're dead. There might be a little bit there, and there's nothing underneath us. So with that being said, they're supposed to be putting a hotel here. They're not going to do a geological survey, which sucks because there's so many artifacts here that I'm sure we could be. Again, I mean, if there's something where you're like, dude, where is right here? Put it right up next to it. In order for that thing to go off, my cell phone, literally got down in green. It would have to be that close for it to give that pulse. You know, my cell phone doesn't give off a super strong signal. But, she does. Every time motivation. She's very motivated. There's tons of books written about this thing. So, let me see what kind of recordings I can get. Stay away from that.
Come with me.
One of the other tactics I'll do, especially when I'm broken away, is I'll ask questions that I didn't suggest to the other Spirit Box team.
Okay.
Like, I always ask how many people that I bring with me. She doesn't know I'm going to ask that because they can use any device to answer. So it could come up on my audio, your audio, or the 3 Spirit Boxes. So if she hears the number 4, she's going to turn around and say, I heard 4. I asked how many people did we bring tonight. So I get that all the time. But I just got the words, don't forget. So.
Yeah, it's really going off. Babe, stay there. Put your arms in. I mean the other arm. Okay, it's in. Who's getting married in August? What he was saying to me was, if you ask when you're by yourself, kind of off the wall questions, I just said, we get, so if in your spirit box,
He hears it, yeah.
any names pop up.
Where's Dan moving to?
Clean up the wires up there. Electrical wires. They're too far away. I like to test them. And he was saying there's nothing buried below here, so there's no wires. So it's not just hitting red.
I think Elijah likes being talked about.
Keep talking to her. Keep talking to her.
Are pretty definitive. Or I get a countdown in this location. I don't know why I was going like 9, 8. Like, nope, keep going. I need 4. So I'll keep hearing all those numbers until I finally get a 4, and then it stops. Because I'm listening for 3 at that point to see if she's going to keep going. That EMF's going crazy. Now, I just got the word cabin. So the way this place was laid out was the mansion was in the front. The garden was lined up with that left tree all the way across, and then the servant slave quarters were here in the back, which would have been cabins. So I'm wondering if I'm getting direction at this point. So I don't know, but I can't prove anything that I do get out of there because I don't have any record of who the slaves were. You know, who she by, things like that. But what I do know is that she was very pleasant to her servants. So I do get some, that's crazy, man. And I'll be honest, I've had times where I come through here where that does absolutely nothing and I get no evidence. Also, keep in mind, you see that blinking light on the back? So that blinking light doesn't always blink. And when it does, it's usually, if you hold that up like you're going to take a selfie with it, a lot of times it's in sync with whatever that is. So this thing will pulse when that thing is on that light. It's usually like a 2 frames away. It's about 2 frames away. It's kind of my barometer if I'm going to get in that quick. crucified up there. Elijah, tell us what happened.
Elijah, what is my name? Do you introduce yourself to her? Elijah, does it bother you that we're using these devices to talk to you?
We're standing, we're right inside the
No
piazza.
way. Wow.
And when I was back at the slave quarters, freaked. And I also got an earthquake. We were talking about the 1886 earthquake over there. It's like the word hallway. They just walked up there. Alright, watch your video. Somebody's getting in their car. To the right of us. There we go. But yeah, that's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
So again, I always kind of look at like the layout of where they're at. So if I would have said porch or piazza or something like that, I would have been like, okay, like they're definitely out on the porch.
Earlier when I introduced myself, I said I was a teacher at one point. Just to kind of introduce myself. I said my name's Ken Harrison. I was a teacher. Did that word have come up in any way relation to that?
It could have been. And we'll see if your
Class.
name pops up. Now, if your name pops up in either of our spirit boxes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'll listen closely because I've been recording this the whole time.
Gotcha.
And again, I've had, so one of my most interesting nights, we're going to, did we go into his car?
I think they're still in there.
Okay. Because this is the only way in and out. Just want to make sure we're out of the way. So I had one night, I was just started. It was probably 3 months into my tours. And it was just a couple. And the guy just came over from Iraq. And he lost one of his buddies over there. It didn't matter what story I told. Everything came up towards his buddy, trying to give us messages all night long.
Wow.
It didn't matter. Like by the end of the tour, I'm like, dude, this is all about you. He's like, this is why we came. And it was very specific things. Like he was his driver over in Iraq, and the word driver came up, and he was of a different nationality. His nationality came up. A version of his name showed up. Like it was literally message after message after message. So yeah, could class be related? Could be. We'll have to see. Like I'm not excited yet until I get something else. So until something else pops up. Did you hear anything else? All right. So as you guys were walking towards the front by the stairwell up there, the word hallway showed up, which is where the welcoming hallway would have been in their mansion. Standing back here where the slave quarters would have been, I got the word free. So again, we're talking colonial times, and the whole revolutionary thing wasn't really in effect just yet.
Well, maybe because I asked the question, how many slaves did you own? And then free came up. Maybe
Well,
they were just free.
You'll also hear on my recording, you guys, I don't know if you guys watched, but I bent over to pick something up over here. I found two nickels and a dime, all tails up, And a lot of times dimes
Done, yeah.
are messages from our loved ones. So it could have been the fact that it was 20 cents and you asked how many.
Right.
So again, I've paced back here probably 20 times or 30 times and never noticed it. And then, so we'll take that for what it's worth.
Okay.
We got the word class. Ken here used to be a teacher, so we're going to see if there's anything that's relatable on our recordings tomorrow morning. So I'll be looking for things like that. Again, this is a weird spot. Sometimes it's super active and I can't get enough out of her. But other times it's a little slower. My weak blinking light over there, my blinky, it's kind of telling me like we're going to be 50-50. So I'll see what comes up on the spirit box. The answers to the questions I had Michelle ask, Eliza died at the age of 70. So I'm only giving you questions that I've gotten answers to multiple times. By cancer, of what we think was cancer during colonial times. I know it's kind of a rough thing to grab in your head, but that's what they say. That was in Philadelphia. She was up there on business at the age of 70.
Oh, wow.
She's also buried there. The pallbearer, George Washington.
Oh, wow.
So Washington was very close with the Pinckney family. Every time he passed through Charleston, he had dinner or a meeting with them in their home. So, you know, along those lines. And I didn't even know that fact until I started doing more and more tours. I just learned that a few months ago because I had the word Washington show up, and then George Washington showed up like 2 or 3 nights later. I'm like, there's got to be a link here. Turns out he was a pallbearer. So pretty interesting stuff. The mansion burned down. So if you heard anything about the words fire or flame or burning or anything like that, like I usually ask questions that I didn't tell you about. So I did ask somebody tell us what happened to the mansion. Those are pretty simple words that we'll normally get. I also asked Charles to put his name on my screen. He will do that at will. I have that at least twice in the past year. So if I say, hey Charles, if you're hanging out with us, put your name on this blue box that I'm holding. Charles, happens all the time. So I'll be listening for Charles, and these are the common things I listen for the next day. The daughter, if you asked what her name was or anything, it was Harriet, and they did write letters back and forth quite a bit. They were both in business for themselves, and they talked business and love all the time. Eliza Lucas Pinckney was the one that planted the indigo. Eliza Lamb Pinckney was the insignificant first wife. So we have Lamb and Lucas. Those are the 2 names that we're coming up with. And those names have all popped up here before. Again, all of these questions I've had answers to. We're going to walk about 3-4 blocks going up to Lodge Alley. Has anybody been to Lodge Alley before?
No.
It's one of those weird alleys that most tourists won't go through it because there's really not much for them there. Besides, they're really old cobblestones. But I get some activity there. Listen to your spirit box along the way. I'm listening for names. So I'm not going to tell you which names or why until we get there. Absolutely no lasers on East Bay Street. Keep filming. Your EMF's going to go crazy because of the parking meters.
Okay.
So you can pretty much ignore it.
Okay.
So half of us are out of the game right now until we get up to Lodge Alley. Everybody got comfy shoes on? Looks like yes, because it is old bricks. So let's take a hike. Is this what everybody thought they were getting themselves into? Yep. What you were hoping for? Sorry I'm not jumping out and scaring the 2 of you. What you were hoping for. guys all in characteristics. I'm a writer, so you guys are all in my book right now.
Uh-oh.
Gardner Johnson almost got the pick. Instead, helped make the stop to bring Pinion and the punt team on for Tampa Bay. Saints up 7.
The Chevy Silverado trim. When you have a 2-inch trim,
Okay.
Trip on one.
You hear that?
Your her thing, you mean?
Yeah, it sounds like she's spraying something. That's a pretty cool device.
She said it said her name before.
Did it really?
Yes.
So I asked for names because this used to be a place of residence. People lived here. So keep in mind too, those buildings down there wouldn't have been there in the 1800s. Like the peninsula of Charleston was much skinnier. So all the stuff we have on the edges now is man-made. All the piers and all the restaurants and all that stuff. So that smell of low tide would have been nasty coming through. Okay, so these people were considered lower class. Now, how did they prove that? Archaeological dig underneath these bricks. So they found some of their clothing, some of their utensils like silverware and tools and those kind of things, and they were considered lower class, so they were able to prove it. They also found some kind of roster of all the people that lived here and what they did for a living. So names I had the word commonly. So I got, because this would have been the common people of Charlestown. We are now inside what would have been the Charlestown walls. So we passed it when we went through the market. Okay. So Charlestown was literally 4 walls, very, very small. So this would have been a small street where people lived. But the names I normally get are Benjamin and John. So when they show up together, it's very unique because Benjamin and John were 2 out of the 4 residents that lived here in 1801. So there was only 4 people that lived here. 2 of them were named Benjamin and John. So when I see it together, it's pretty, I usually get that about once a month on average. I get a lot of children laughing coming out of the Geosphere box, or the other one that I use. Things wrapped around kids. I can't find the tie of where the research would come from and why there's so many kids laughing when I'm in here. But I do catch a lot of light anomalies in here as well. So when I have my digital pictures out, there's always a green orb showing up. I have it literally moving on a still camera. All kinds of things come up out of this house. This is also where the Masons used to meet. So hot, sticky nights in Charleston, they'd be down here in suits and suspenders talking business. Obviously that was before this is where the residents, like little shotgun houses were. So we are going to pass through the rest of this here. Again, I try to be brief. We are going to be cutting through a little bit of a neighborhood where I'm not a tour guide. So we are just 5 friends walking through. I'm not allowed to do tour guiding things in neighborhoods. So we are allowed to pass through quietly. So we'll pass through quietly. The next location we go to has like 4 stories and 1 last final investigation that we'll dive into. And I'll be honest, it's a new story. So I'm learning more and more about it. I have stacks of books I've been reading for the past couple of weeks and kind of diving into some facts about Anne Bonny. I'm not into pirates, and this is a pirate story. So again, just one of those weird things. I'm like, man, I don't want to do pirates. But I got booted out of my last location because of that new neighbor I was telling you about, where I'm being respectful. So I had to kind of reroute things. But there's a lot of really cool stories up there, and especially for you're going to be now a native, hopefully, that you should know. So, and there are more popular places that you guys can go visit during your daytime. So let's take a hike, keep filming, and we're just 5 friends.
Babe, you see your key too.
You got them.
Yeah, I just want to. Nothing
So
going
with that EMF in here, if we do get anything, it's usually at the front where Magnolia's is because of all the kitchen stuff. But back here, it usually goes dead. But when I do get something, it is exciting because it's not going to be the Pinky Mansion thing, that's for sure. Dive into it for like 2 hours. Yeah. So, 8 hours times 3 is sort of nice. So I go into it for about 2 hours and let you guys do that. So for my own stuff, I dive into it wholeheartedly. I won't get the second, I look at every second. So it takes time, and then piecing it all together. So there we go. This is the most beautiful place. And nighttime or daytime. Where I guess exactly. Why there's a pour down there, I don't know. Philadelphia Apple. great story there in soccer, so just go through that line. We'll talk about that. Something, send it over. My wife actually is the cell phone manager for Best Buy, and she's a photographer. That's what she went to school for. So she knows every cell phone camera, and we can tell you if it's bunk or not. So the reason why we stop here, and we'll be brief here, is because this is a very common spot for all your other tours. This sign right inside the gate here actually says there's no ghost at St. Philip but the Holy Ghost. There's a reason for that. So 1888, a young lady died 10 days after her stillborn child. Sorry, I'm a little winded from the mask. 10 days after her stillborn child. 1987, 99 years later, we have a local photographer taking pictures of all of our cemeteries, and he takes a picture and gets a full apparition of a woman with a shawl over her shoulders and a baby basket next to her over that specific day. Now, that woman's name is Sue Howard Harding. I don't show you the picture on my tour. Other tourists do. I don't do it. Why? Because it's hers. Women that hold it will not feel well. Same symptoms I told you about if they jump. Pregnant women that hold this picture don't have a good pregnancy. I'm not putting that stigma or that getting that phone call a year later, 9 months later, saying you cursed my baby. So, we will be kind of brief here, so take pictures, see what EMF stuff you're getting. We'll get a quick video. All the tours stop here, so I try not to stay in their way. They already don't like me. So, John's like, man, you just laugh. But this is a very interesting corner. So what we're going to do from here, we're going to go over to that lot over there where I can kind of show off a little bit more about the different buildings around here. But notice that there's two different sides of the cemetery. So our friend Mr. Pinkney is buried on this side. Why? Because he's a native. He's actually from Charleston. Now, Calhoun, he's buried on the other side. Why? Because he's not from here. His sarcophagus is above ground. You can't visit it during the daytime. And he just removed his statue from Marion Square. So you were unaware of that big, tall, I don't even know, they took down their column too, so there should be a fence around the base of it.
That Calhoun they took down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that who you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took him down. I was over the summer, late summer, July, August. So that was a pretty big deal here.
Yeah.
And a lot of riots and things going on with that. So you can look up the Calhoun Monument and get the Close and Courier covers of that.
I watched Southern Charm and it was on there.
Oh, yeah. It was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
Now, so I have ties with the company that owns that, the Washington Light Infantry. But the monument belonged to the city of Charleston. So I called him and said, where are they taking the monument? Or where are they taking the statue? And they put it right next to his sarcophagus. And he said, we're not allowed to disclose where it's going. So, it is what it is. All right, the big crazy tour is going to be coming this way. So once this car passes, we're going to cross the street and take their spot. So let's see how we make the tour right here. Which one is taller than that one?
Yeah.
All about the stuff around us first. So we passed that brick building over there on the corner. That used to be called Bocce's Restaurant. Bocce's Restaurant left town because it's too hot. Doors don't stay shut. All kinds of things happen in there. Mirrors fall off the wall and they'll break. What that means to me, as somebody who's familiar with scrying and black mirrors, is something was coming through and kept it together as they pushed it off the wall. So again, the fact that it landed on the floor and didn't break, and it was a loud banging sound, something held it together. It's a mirror. It's glass. So take that for what it is. That's just from my own personal experience. If I were to ever have, which I will, hopefully 5 years, keep the tours going, that I have a Stories in a Cemetery store where I sell books and ghost hunting equipment, and upstairs will be a haunted hotel, that will be my spot. Because there are apartments upstairs. I will rent it out to 10 people at a time for $500 a night. They will get their gear, and I will upload things for them just like I do for y'all. So, what else is going on here? So, there's more stories tied to St. Philip's Church. So, this used to be called Dock Street. Okay, you guys have all heard Dock Street Theater. You've been in town for more than 10 minutes, I'm sure. So, Dock Street Theater is actually on the other side of this cemetery. But before that, it's called the Pirate House. That's where Blackbeard's men would come off the ships, and they would go over to this house, have a few drinks, meet with some ladies, and then they dug a tunnel from the Pirate House underneath the street over to Dock Street Theater, and they'd go catch a show. Now, we filled in that little tunnel back in the 1990s. So yes, there's verifiable proof that it used to be there. So, take that for what it is. Blackbeard never set foot on Charleston soil. He stayed back with the ships, always. Just so you guys know that. There's rumors all over Blackbeard and Mr. Teach himself. Again, not a big pirate person, but that's an interesting tale. Church, this is now Church Street. The reason for that is because St. Philip's was the only building that couldn't move when they widened the road. And Dock Street Theater wasn't Dock Street Theater during that time. It changed to a hotel called Planters Hotel. And we turned it back into Dock Street Theater that we know now. I tell you that story because there's something tied to that. There was a young lady that worked at the church named Nettie Dickerson. And Nettie, she was past the marrying age of 17. She was 23 years old, which means nobody wanted her. Right? How crazy is that? So she sees the prostitution that's going on down at Planters Hotel. She puts on a nice red dress, and she goes down and gets herself a job. And she's the best loved girl in the whole place. But she's still not happy. She goes out to the second-story balcony all the time to see the church and ponder about coming back. One night, priest sees this from the church. He goes down to talk to her. Storm rolls in. Lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's leaning on. Kills her. Now, they say you can see Nettie's ghost from the knees up only. Why? Because when we turned from Planters back to Dock Street Theater, we raised the first floor ceiling. She's walking on the floor that she knows. So, again, some nerd like me had to figure that out. Why the hell am I seeing this short lady with no bottom of her dress? Oh, that's because the floor changed. I got the name Robert. Got somebody past name Robert?
Yeah, middle name.
That's your middle name?
Yeah.
That's pretty common, though. I meant somebody passed on.
His grandfather's Robert.
Albert.
Albert. Oh, never mind.
Albert. What's the last name?
Fitzsimmons.
I got Brown right after that.
Nick.
Robert Brown.
Oh, shoot, just went out. There was a red line that was lined up, not where the shadow is.
You're looking for blue, right?
Blue or black. So even though he's got all red and orange on there, this is why I told him to try to keep a person in perspective, because if I get in the picture, a lot of blue is going to show up because of my skin.
Right, there you
See there? See that line right there?
So if I'm not in the picture, he should be looking for yellow. I'm
And
sorry, dark red. I'm trying to remember the tone. Yeah, it's dark red, then bluish, then black. So that yellow is the hottest spot in the picture because it's yellow then white.
Interesting.
All right, so the other stories that attach to this place, what else do we have? I told you about Nettie Dickerson, the pirates, Bocce's. I think that about covers this whole area. The other ghost at Dock Street Theater, Junius Booth, father of John Wilkes Booth, who shot Lincoln in a theater. Junius Booth was a traveling actor. He used to come through here often. He's not from here. He didn't die here. Actually died up north along the coast somewhere. That's where he's buried. But he is said to be seen in period dress. The interesting thing is when he was traveling through, that was also when Edgar Allan Poe's mother was a child actress coming through Charleston. So if you don't know any ties about Edgar Allan Poe in Charleston, he was stationed here in the Navy under the name Edgar Perry on Sullivan's Island. So if you go down there and you go to Fort Moultrie, that's where he was. And that's why there's Poe's restaurant down there as well. Sorry, I'm a writer, and I got to bring up Poe.
I know. Well, he's all over Baltimore. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right up the street here, we have the is that the Circular Church? Can't remember which church cemetery it is off the top of my head. But that's where Annabelle Lee is allegedly buried. So Annabelle Lee is a true story where she died and her father buried her. Your EMF just went crazy. So with that being said, her father buried her with an unmarked grave, so Edgar could not find her.
Huh.
And if you walk through that cemetery, damn, I can't remember the name of the cemetery. It's gorgeous. It's overgrown. It's like a garden. So it's really hard to see what those things are. Let's go to the Powder Magazine. Let's go to why we're actually here. So you have a bunch of cool stories. So this is the Powder Magazine. So what's in here? It's a museum now. It's really cool. It's really cheap to go through. It's a small little building. We are still right inside the Charlestown walls as far as what is coming in. So one block up is where it would have ended. So this is where we held our gunpowder. And it served in 7 different wars. Not from start to finish. Gunpowder was moved a lot. So it might have been a month, might have been a week, a few days. We've had soldiers in here all the time. However, there is it's a crazy story, and I'm still trying to find the attachment. Anne Bonny is attached to this building. She was a female pirate. Now, Anne Bonny, it's an interesting story. She's from Ireland. Her father was a very prominent government something or other. Okay, again, this is the story I'm still learning. So she was unhappy, and her father hooked her up with some guy. His name was James, and she married this guy, James Bonny. She didn't want to get married to him, so she had an affair with a man named Calico Jack. His last name was Rackham. So Calico Jack had a ship. She wanted to be part of it, yet she was female. There was no such thing as female pirates. She dressed up like a guy. She joined the crew. It's a very small crew. And she finds another woman doing the exact same thing that she's doing. Her name was Mary Reed. Her and Mary obviously became friends, but then the ship was captured, and everybody was tried and hung. This was all down in like Caribbean islands. So with that being said, these 2 ladies were the only ones not hung. Why? Because they claimed to be pregnant. So they delayed their trial, which was in they delayed their hanging, 1720, November 28th. So funny thing is, wow, always remember that date, because that's the day that I start coming here because I got booted out of the other place, November 28th. So obviously we had that date show up, and then we had the number 300 show up, which would have been the 300th anniversary. So it was November 28th, 2020. So I get a lot of stuff out of here that's related to Anne Bonny, but again, I can't find a tie of why the Powder Magazine. Now, she traveled through Charleston. She lived here with her family for a little while, but she actually survived getting out of jail. So her dad dug her out and bailed her out, but Mary stayed in jail and died a year later. I don't know if either one of their pregnancies was legit, but Anne, she decided, she got remarried. She moved somewhere. Nobody really knows her full story other than the fact that she lived till she was 84 years old. She remarried and had children. Nobody knows where she went. So again, reading those books, trying to find all the data. Hopefully our clues tonight from the Spirit Box will be able to give us some more. We're going to spend a good 10 minutes here because I'm still trying to learn and get investigation, so we're going to try to collect as much data as possible. I'm trying to think if I had anything that may have come up. That Robert Brown is blowing my mind. That's got to mean something. So I'm going to be diving into that one for sure. But I haven't had other than Fear and Secretary. Oh, there's our number 4. How many people did I bring with me? There's the number 4.
Yep.
It's a little late, but we'll take it. And the word animal. So we'll take that from back there too. Again, it's not always going to be in the exact location. All right, so definitely turn that Spirit Box up. Ask it whatever questions you want. Just make sure they're not yes or no questions. Get some good film for me. And lasers, just try to keep them off of. I don't know if there's people in there. Okay, you're good if you're up on the ground. If you guys actually want to venture to the front of the building for those things, you get really yeah, Ken, if you wanted to get film from the front of the building, like that's where they're going. They're going up to the front of it.
No,
So it's up to you if you want to go or not.
Yep. my fingers out here the whole time.
You accidentally bumped it. Hopefully we got it.
That black box is up there
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
much the whole
because you
time.
flipped it a couple times. When you do that, it kind of locks up, and it'll still record.
Gotcha.
But I don't know how long ago you bumped that button. So I'm hoping we got that bit back there at the red barn where you saw something coming out of me. Like, that'll probably be the best evidence that we get. What's weird is they used to do investigations in here, like what we're doing now,
Right.
just in here, because of this whole Anne Bonny story. And again, I'm trying to find out why the powder might even. So I don't know where Mary Reed was from, so I'll have to dive into that. But that kind of last name sounds like she could have been, I don't even want to say American, but this could have been, obviously 1700s. You can't really say American back then. So we'll find out where she was from. And Robert Brown, like, that's a full name.
I keep asking.
Like, who the hell's Robert?
Robert Brown in here?
And we got some weird EMF over there, but I think you debunked it pretty quickly. There might have been a timer on the watering system or something along those lines. So,
It's just so spooky.
questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to ask me, I'm an open book.
Are we allowed to go over to that brick building?
I usually just kind of stay. I mean, if you want to go over there real quick, maybe shoot a couple pictures. Behind it is apartments, which makes it residential for tour guides. So, again, I've had people coming out screaming, why are you filming my house? Why are you taking pictures? Now, if you do take pictures at our place, I have caught shadows on the 3rd floor that are unexplainable. I hand stuff over to my wife and say, tell me what's going on. She's like, whose phone was it? I'm like, it was my phone. She's like, that's a legitimate figure. So, because she knows my phone. It's one of the reasons why she got it for me. It's the crazy S whatever pen thing this is. But if you're going to take pictures with your phone and you capture something in the windows, go ahead and zoom in. Just don't make it grainy, because those are obviously, you want to try to get as clear as possible. I've had blue anomalies show up right on the other side, like of the courtyard before the cemetery. I've had stuff show up over there. Again, it's just a matter of wherever you are, take pictures slow and still. Hopefully you capture something. So, and it was actually in the shape of a dragonfly. It was weird. So, it is what it is. Alright, Cam, let's go ahead and get that thing off of you. And again, I'm hoping that the other video is going to capture most of the night and not missing too much.